Hi, everyone. Welcome to Differentiating Hyperdocs. I'm Donna Wakefield. I'm a professor at National Louis University in Chicago. I've been there for 20 years. I teach language and literacy courses in the special education program. Before that, I was a speech-language pathologist and special education teacher in the western suburbs in Chicagoland, and have worked birth to 21 with all types of disabilities in just about every setting that there is that I'm aware of. So, lots of interesting stories. Let's find out about differentiating with Hyperdocs. The first thing is, why would we want to use Hyperdocs with students with disabilities? I think Hyperdocs are phenomenal lessons. They are designed to engage students, that students can go out and explore the content that's available for them to learn. They can explain what they have learned right away. They can apply what they've learned right away. They're able to share with others their learnings and reflect on their learnings. And then it's easy to extend what they've learned after they've finished the Hyperdoc and can move on. Hyperdocs have a lot of opportunity for collaboration, and they're designed to give every student a voice and a chance to be heard by their classmates. A lot of students with disabilities often don't speak up in class. They're either afraid to speak up, they're not sure of what to say, they're slow at processing the questions that are being asked or the discussion that's going on, and slow at processing their answers. So by the time they've figured out what they want to say, the discussion has moved on. Or they just really need that extra time to think about what they want to say. And by being able to do it through the Hyperdoc, through the different avenues for expressing themselves, they have time to think about it, figure out what they want to say, and then say it. There's a lot of critical thinking and problem-solving skills that can be developed through the different activities in Hyperdocs. It's just, that's the way they're designed. And we know that all kids need to work on critical thinking and problem-solving. Hyperdocs allow for the creation of authentic artifacts for students to show what they've learned, and that they can use those artifacts and show what they've learned as they connect with a wider audience. And Hyperdocs are adaptable to different students' abilities and interests. So they're just really great tools. There are Hyperdocs available on just about anything you could ask for, any lessons you can think of. Teachers Give Teachers is a great place to look for Hyperdocs. It's where people post Hyperdocs to share. If you can't find a Hyperdoc there that you're looking for, join the Hyperdocs group in Facebook and then ask. You'd be amazed what's out there, and people will share. So don't be afraid to ask for what you're looking for. Let's do a quick look at differentiation, just to remind ourselves what we're looking at. When we differentiate, we want to differentiate by content, what the student needs to learn or how they're going to access the information that's out there. We want to differentiate by process, the activities in which the students engage in, how they go about that learning. And then the product, how the students are going to show you what they've learned. Differentiating for content, think about using reading materials at different readability levels. There's a lot of different texts at different reading levels. You can find the same book or the same reading material at different levels. If you can't find it, go ahead and adapt it. Remember that Lexiles are based on syntax and semantics, how long the sentences are and how complex the vocabulary is. So shorten the sentences, Use easier vocabulary, simpler vocabulary that means the same thing. You're reducing the lexile and making it at a lower readability level so students can access the same content. Use audio files, materials on tape, on digital files, on disk. Students can read along with the audio file in their books or what they're reading, or they can listen to the audio files on their own. Use spelling and vocabulary lists that are at the student's level. Make sure you present ideas through both auditory and visual means. We know one of the best things we can do for our students is show them things, give them information visually, give them visual cues. Really helps kids process what they're learning. Remember, we can reteach an idea for kids who are struggling, or we can extend the thinking or skills of kids who are ready to move on. When we're differentiating process, use tiered activities. Use the same content, but at different levels. Use interest centers. So if there are certain kids that are interested in one specific part of a topic, let them work together and explore that specific subset of what we're learning. Give kids checklists of what they need to do. Personal agendas, tasks. We all use checklists. We know it helps us stay organized and get things done. Give kids checklists or personal agendas or task lists for what needs to be done for an entire project, an entire day, or just one lesson. Just helps kids figure out what they're doing and keep them on task. Use manipulatives or other hand-on supports. We know kids that need that kinesthetic input. They need to see, touch, and feel things. Use manipulatives and tactile objects whenever possible. And provide extended time, one of the best things we can do for our kids. For product, think about ways for kids to show what they know in different ways. Ones I just gave here: puppet show, write a letter, develop a mural with labels, anything kids can think of. Use rubrics so students know exactly what's expected of them at the different levels. Allow students to work alone or in small groups for their different products. And then encourage students to go ahead and come up with their own ideas on how they can show you what they've learned. As long as the assignments contain the required elements, give them that rubric that shows them what they need to do, and let them figure out how they can show you how they've learned it. Now, how can we do this with Hyperdocs? Think about content, assess what the students know, and provide the appropriate level of content. For process, provide options for learning activities, and for product, provide choices for demonstrating their learning. Differentiating by content, assess students to see what they know. I like to do this using a Google form. Simple Google form with some basic questions to find out what individuals know, just basic yes/no answers. It's self-scoring. It gives you or the students the score right away and tells them where to start or which part of the Hyperdoc to use. I like to provide different versions of the same Hyperdoc with the same key concept. When we're developing lessons, we want to think about the key concept. What is it the student needs to know before the lesson is over or before they walk out the door? And then from there, build up. So everyone's going to get the key concept, and then we work up from there. Differentiating by process, provide information in an audio format, provide information in a video format so we can hear it, we can see it, provide it in a written format so we can read it, provide it in a visual format, another way to see it, but more picture-wise, infographics, photos, drawings, different ways to conceptualize the information. And then differentiation by product. Allow students options to show you what they know, think, and have learned. If you want written work, remember that with Google Docs, they can dictate So they can write or they can dictate. With Google Slides, they can write. If they use speaker notes, they can dictate and then copy and paste into the slide what they've dictated. They can use video, audio, or drawing files to show what they've known. Use things like Flipgrid, Padlet, Google Drawings. The options are endless. There are so many things there. I just gave you a few to think about. All right, let's go look at an actual hyperdoc that's been differentiated. The one we're going to look at is a hyperdoc on differentiation. It is designed for adults, not kids. And it's available. All of this is available with the slideshow. To start off, I have the main page for differentiation. For engagement, we take the quiz to find out what we know about differentiating curriculum. We get a score. We have the score is emailed to you at the email you choose. If you get 0 to 8 points, differentiating is a pretty new concept to you, so you're a beginner. You get 9 to 15 points. You've got some ideas about differentiating, but have some learning to do. And if you get 16 to 20 points, you're pretty competent, but there's always more to learn. Here's a link for the actual quiz. You can take it. This is what the quiz for differentiation looks like. Notice the first thing is the email address. You put in the email address. If you decide you want to take the quiz just to see where you're at, see what it's like, I am not collecting email addresses, but this is an option, and it'll give you the score. You can tell that the way I've done this, it's either a yes, no answer, true, false. There's a statement, yes, this is true, or no, it's not. There are 10 questions, 2 points for each question. You saw the 20-point answers. Take the quiz, find out where you're at, and then it tells you which document to start with. If you're beginning differentiating, meaning the concept of differentiation is new to me, to start with engagement, this is actually designed to be done in a face-to-face group. This would be a turn and talk with a partner. There are 2 questions to get you started talking about differentiation. And they're basic questions, and they're the ones that when you first start thinking about differentiation really are burning questions. How can one teacher do all of this? How can I maximize my role? So they're ones to just turn and talk to your partner. For exploration, there are several websites to go and look at with information about differentiation. For explanation, for explaining, I have a great article that I've used from Reading Rockets about what is differentiated instruction. Now that you've discussed, you've explored, you've explained, or the explanation's been given to you, you go ahead and think about what are 3 tips you've collected for differentiation? What are 2 things you've learned about differentiating curriculum? And 1 question you still have. You post your answers either on Padlet, where you can write them, or on Flipgrid, where they're video answers. Again, differentiated product. And then for evaluating your reflection, I have it set up as a goal. What are you going to do? So what is one thing you might try to do to add differentiation to your curriculum, to your teaching? And I set it up with create a new Google Doc, dictate or write your answer, and then share it for editing with your instructor. In this case, it's me. The reason I have it shared for editing is this is just something I do with all of my grad students because I give Bitmojis as digital stickers on their digital work. It's amazing how excited graduate students get on stickers, just like the littles do. So I use Bitmojis. You'll notice all of my Bitmojis are me wearing my Cubs hat. I'm from Chicago and a big Cubs fan, so they all get my Cubs Bitmojis. But to be able to put them on papers, you have to have editing privileges. For developing differentiation, for the engagement, the turn and talk part, they're a higher level of question. How can it improve student performance? How can we best differentiate instruction? For exploring, it's now 8 ways to differentiate the curriculum for your students. A little more information. And then an article from ASCD about differentiated instruction, a more in-depth article than the beginning article that was given in the beginning differentiation hyperdoc. Notice the elaborate, the post your answers part on Padlet or Flipgrid are the same 3 probes, and they are actually the same Padlet and Flipgrid. I want the information going to the same pages so everyone has access to them. And then for evaluate, it's a higher level reflection goal, but it's the same process of the Google Doc shared for editing. And then for competent differentiation, I know it, but I can always learn a little bit more. A higher level of engagement for that turn and talk. The exploration, the information that we're learning. What I want to say for this one is the strategies to differentiate instruction K4 and 412 are published by a school district that I've used for a while. Great information that if you're looking at information for differentiated instruction, no matter if you're beginning, developing, or competent, I really advise you to go look at those 2 pages, those 2 collections of ideas. The explain, here's a successful experience, what one teacher's been able to do with differentiated curriculum, just to get a nice life story of how it worked. And then again, the elaborate, the posting the answers are all on the same Padlet or Flipgrid. But then the evaluate, the goal setting, what can I do to increase the way I differentiate my teaching? So it's always pushing a little bit more in the evaluate, in the competent differentiation in the highest level. But you can just see how I've pushed it to be different at each one. So for content, we did the assessment through the Google form. Students got their scores. They knew which Google Doc or Hyperdoc to go to. And then the content was varied on each of the 3 Hyperdocs. The process, I provided options for learning activities. And then I provided options for the product, different ways to show what they'd learn. Try it. It works. It's a little bit more work to do several Hyperdocs of the same content, but your kids are going to be successful. I really like the idea of differentiating Hyperdocs, along with differentiating everything we do. Here's my contact information. Please feel free to email me. And I'm hanging around for a little bit to answer any questions that I can. I hope this was helpful.